And today, the National Task Force to End Sexual and Domestic Violence, international human rights and children's rights advocates Angelina Jolie and the U.S. Senate sponsors of the upcoming VAWA reauthorization, the Violence Against Women's Act, held a policy day of action. So Angelina Jolie did this with senators to get VAWA passed again. VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act, has to be reauthorized every several years. We're now back to the reauthorization process of VAWA. Now, VAWA is a lot more than what we talk about here in our show. When we talk about VAWA in our show, we're talking about specific abuse cases, physical abuse, extreme emotional abuse against people who don't have green cards, so that they are able to file for their green cards, do not have to stay in a violent relationship just to get a green card, that they have an option to leave that violent relationship and still not be scared of getting deported or being scared that they would not be able to get immigration benefits. It's a beautiful, beautiful law, VAWA. Now, but it's a lot more than that. VAWA is the actual central way the federal government responds to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. It was first signed into law in 1994, and it creates a grant program to provide services and housing to victims and survivors, and training to improve the legal response to gender-based violence. Now, the Violence Against Women's Act Reauthorization Act of 2022, well, that's a mouthful, is based on extensive work with survivors, direct service providers, and other stakeholders, and is the first reauthorization since the pandemic, which has exacerbated domestic violence and sexual assault. People are stuck home, quarantining, without jobs, working from home. There's a lot more pressure in the household, causes a lot more domestic violence. Now, Angelina Jolie posted on her Instagram page that since VAWA was passed in 1994, the rate of domestic violence in the United States has decreased by 63%, and spousal homicides have decreased by 50%. It's a bipartisan bill. It strengthens protections for survivors, invests in abuse prevention and in families and communities, and it will also reauthorize VAWA for immigration so that people who are applying for green cards based on abuse, whether you're a woman or a man, whatever your sexual identity may be, if you are in a marital relationship to a resident or a U.S. citizen, and you are the victim of physical abuse or the victim of extreme emotional abuse, there are options other than having to say, I won't get an immigration benefit. And there are options to saying, I have to stay in this abusive relationship just to get an immigration benefit. The option is you file a VAWA and you get the heck out of that home.
Yeah.
At 12:15 today, a virtual rally was held with VAWA lead senators and Angelina Jolie. Let's listen to a clip of what Angelina Jolie had to say.
So we now have the opportunity to pass an act that does a better job of protecting victims of abuse, that requires judges to have training on the trauma effects of domestic violence and to apply legal standards that prioritize children's safety, that funds technology and training to detect bruising across all skin tones, to address racial bias in forensic evidence collection, and that restores tribal jurisdiction to over non-native perpetrators of violence.
At 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today, there was a Twitter storm. The hashtag that they asked people to use to encourage the reauthorization of VAWA, hashtag VAWA and hashtag VAWA for all, has started a Twitter storm. They're also encouraging anyone, everyone, before, during, and after the rally to call their U.S. senators at 202-224-3121 and encourage them to join and pass the reauthorization of VAWA. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.